We'll start now. So sorry for the technical glitch. I welcome you all to another session of the Career Insight series. We have with us today Simbiat Sadiq, a cybersecurity professional. Simbiat is actually an advocate for women in cybersecurity and a mentor to many. Uh, at one point, she actually served as a project manager for digital security at the renowned Co-Creation Hub in Yaba, Lagos. She also participated actively as the head of operations for the No Go For MAGA campaign, which has actually metamorphosed into the Cyber Girls with presence in over 22 African countries, including Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. She's actually the founder of Cybersecurity, and she's currently based in Ireland. I am actually delighted to welcome you today, Simbiat, to this session, and we're very grateful for honoring us. Please, you might have a minute to, tell us a little about yourself or introduce yourself, perhaps.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you good. Yeah.
Okay, first, thank you for inviting me and thanks for the warm introduction. My name is Simbiat Sadiq. I currently work as a cybersecurity consultant in Ireland. I don't want to bore you with all of the, career history and everything, but I've been in the field for say about 6 years, and I study cybersecurity, right? At my bachelor's level, and I've had the opportunity to work around, different sectors and different organizations, ranging from different roles. To be very honest, I think I'll just say I've just been touching around the different areas of cybersecurity and even trying to see how it feels like to manage projects, which was what led me to working with Co-Creation Hub before my current role. Aside from what I do professionally, which is really my 9 to 5, I'm a very big fan of the community. I'm like a serial volunteer, to be very honest. Like I just find things that interest me to volunteer for, which includes the Cyber Girls, among others. And I do some tiny bit of mentoring as time permits, right? And also I'm the co-founder of CyBlack, which is a community of Black cybersecurity professionals where we're trying to help Black people who migrate to Europe to kickstart their cybersecurity career. And also, I'm building CyberSecFuel really to spotlight Africans in general, because I feel like we don't tell our cybersecurity story enough, but that's really just work in progress. And yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's me.
All right. Thank you so much. That's actually great. Unlike many of us, you seems to know that you want to be a cybersecurity professional. Many of us will start with a different career. For instance, for me, I started as an accountant. I'm actually a chartered accountant, right? And then later on, I decided to venture into cybersecurity. But it seems for you, you get to know what you want to do very early in your career. So actually, what's actually that force, or what actually inspired you to pursue the cybersecurity career?
Um, I just say curiosity, to be very honest, because when I decided to pursue a career in cybersecurity, it wasn't because it was lucrative, right? It was the time when people will say, go study medicine, go study pharmacy, go for engineering and everything. But I had worked in a cyber cafe where I thought something happened basically. And I figured that I think that was when people go to the cafe, buy ticket, right? And someone comes. And I remember the guy, as in, I remember him so well that I feel like if I meet him on the road, I'm going to recognize him, right? He comes, buy tickets for 30 minutes, which really showed lasting for just 30 minutes. But then he comes back every single time and he doesn't buy any tickets and he sees off the internet. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Right. And I had called the attention of the owner of the cafe, and only for her to call someone to come check what's going on. I mean, we didn't talk to him directly, right? And I don't know what they did, but they're like, oh yeah, they think this guy just comes, passes the time, and then surfs the internet. And because the ticket doesn't expire until after 7 days, it means he can probably spend 3 hours every day for 7 days. And it was very interesting. I'm like, how do you even think about these things, right? And we're now trying to, see how can we manage that best. And I remember the first thing we had to do was like, you know what, we're going to reduce the number of days, right, that the ticket is going to expire for. But it was that curiosity that made me to start like making research and saying, okay, how does this thing even work? I think that was the first thing for me, right? And how can we solve this problem? And voila, I discovered there was cybersecurity. No, really, I actually discovered that word hacking, like people they call hackers first.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. And, the more I read and made research, the more interesting it was for me. And I'm like, okay, how do I get into this thing? Like, how do I become a hacker? I mean, that was a thing for me, right? And that's when I discovered that there was a school that was offering the course cybersecurity. And I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, this is definitely what I'm going for. And yeah, that was it. And here I am.
So what it is, it's actually curiosity, and I think that's actually the case for many of us actually. But then you've been in this industry for quite some time. You must have actually spotted a few things when it comes to the skill sets or qualities that are actually required. And many times, we understand that we have to validate these skills and dexterities with certifications. What's your opinion, on certifications? Of course, we have a number of persons in the room and online preparing for their first, perhaps, cybersecurity certification. That's the certified in cybersecurity. Is it the way to go? I mean, where does this certification helps? Is it in is it in the point in the job market, or actually, what really matters? Your opinion, please.
Okay, so for me, right, I think I love the fact that in the past, let's say 2-3 years, there's been opportunity for people to take, certification like this, like the ISCC Square certified in cybersecurity. I mean, previously you really couldn't get stuff like this for free. I mean, you had to pay for it. But I mean, I see a lot of improvement in industry and support to people who are trying to get into cybersecurity. So I see certifications from two different angles, right? I think one is you're showing commitment to something, right? Because everybody knows that for you to actually dedicate time to read, study, and take an exam, you have to be very dedicated, right, to achieve it. So that's one. And two is you can also, it's an opportunity for you to learn some certain skills, right? Based on the certification you are preparing for, or you had prepared for, you had just passed. So especially for people who are trying to get their first opportunity, right? I mean, prior to now, I tell people you really don't even have to pay a lot of money for certification if you're trying to get your foot into it, right? It could be as little as a Udemy course, certificate of completion. And I say this because I've been a part of interview panel sessions, right? And everybody knows how expensive these things are, right? While it's like an added advantage, but the question is, do you understand what you've studied, right? Do you understand what it is exactly? Because it's one thing to pass an exam, it's one thing to understand the content, right, of what you studied. So I think, yes, it does validate your skills to a certain extent, right? But I feel like majorly, especially for people who are getting their foot in the door, it's more around commitment and dedication. Like you're going out of your way, right, to add more value, to gain more knowledge, and you said to dedicate a certain amount of time to achieve that. So is it a way to go? Absolutely yes, right? And I'm so glad that, I mean, they're like stuff like this for people to do. And I know that it's not something you probably just relax. You have to like prepare for it. So it gives you that extra validation of, oh, I really want this thing, and I'm going out of my way to achieve this. So yeah, that's basically my thought.
All right, thank you for that. The industry, which you've been part of for quite some time now, it's one that actually evolves very quickly. You know, the threat landscape keeps changing. As a cybersecurity, of course, you have to be on your toes, perhaps if not on your heels.
Yeah.
You know, every day the hackers are getting more sophisticated. The AI and machine learning is not helping matters. Of course, it's helping to protect off, and also as well, the bad guys are using it as a tool.
Mm.
So how do you, cope with this evolving field? How do you, match this particular trend?
That's a very interesting question because I was just talking to somebody yesterday and I was telling him that the truth is you can't even know everything for a start, right? There's just too much and there's so much, right? And sometimes you try to learn so much and you just get overwhelmed, right? By so much information trying to get. So first is, I mean, for me, Twitter is like my go-to place, to be very honest, because I feel like um blog posts, newsletters, they can be quite a lot to assimilate. Yes, I go back to them after a while, but if there is like, when they say like summarized information about certain threads, certain information, it's Twitter for me, right? I follow, certain handles, Hacker News, who gives like that brief summary, and then you get an insight around what's going on, right? So first for me is Twitter. It's like always my go-to place to get, trending news, and just follow the right handles and the right people, and you're sure to get that quick information without having to read so much. Yes, you might have to go into details, right? If you need to, but most times you just need to have that brief or summarized understanding of, oh, this is a new threat and this is what's happening, right? You might want to refer to maybe the detailed information, but the thing is, you're on top of what's going on, which is very important. And second thing is because I honestly know that there's so much I can catch up with. I remember, was it sometime last year or 2 years ago, one had reached out to ask me to come and talk about blockchain security. And I laughed. I'm like, you know what? I have no idea what blockchain is about, right? I know it's trending, it sounds really cool, but I've been very intentional about not trying to overwhelm myself so much. If I feel like, oh, I want to dive into blockchain security, I'll have to divert my attention to blockchain security. But currently, I am honestly not there. So I'm sorry, I can't talk about blockchain security. And I got the, oh wow. I thought, as a security professional, I said, yeah, I mean, it's easy to think that way, but I'm sorry. There's so much I can do, right? Yes, I have like, that. So the thing about security is, yes, it has, underlying, should I say, there's an overlap regardless of whether it's AI, it's blockchain. There is a general confidentiality, integrity, availability, and all of that bit. But sometimes, for example, we're talking about AI, right? There are
Yeah.
like some core elements that is aside, your general fundamentals of security, which I honestly do not know about at the moment because I am not looking towards AI security yet. But now here's where it gets interesting. If peradventure I have to work on a project that involves blockchain security, it means I'll have to divert my attention into really understanding blockchain and how security works. So what I've done for myself, so I don't kill myself because I have accepted the fact that I cannot know everything. I focus on my job, what I need
Yeah.
to do, and ask myself, what's the next thing I want to learn, right? What's the next skill I want to get? And then start easing myself into it. And if peradventure, it comes in as a project, I'll now, focus all of my attention into it at that point in time. So in nutshell is follow news, read blogs, depending on what works for you. Some people like to read, the whole in-depth
Yeah.
understanding of certain information. It's fine. I mean, go on. But for me, I just like to get that brief summary first. And if I think, okay, this is interesting for me to go dive into, I go dive into it. Then don't kill yourself, right? Focus on what you
Yeah.
need to get the
Exactly.
job done or what you need to get your foot into the door first. I promise you, you have like so much time to learn like so much
Yeah.
along your journey. So yeah, that's
That's
it.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the domain is quite wild. with a lot of specialties. You could actually specialize in just risk management. That was one of the courses we took while going through the CC preparation class. So you could specify on governance, for instance. You could specialize actually maybe on hacking, or if you want to become offensive or defensive and the like. So, of course, one can actually choose your own niche and specialize in that. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. In your introduction, you did say a little about your pet project, that the CyberSec field. I'm not sure if you were willing to share a little more about that with us today.
Okay, yeah, sure. So interesting thing is, I think after my university, I tried to start writing, and that was for some reason, because one it was a case of I look for some information and I was getting just the technical base of it. I wasn't getting that, a brief version where I'd have to be technical to understand some certain things. I decided to take it upon myself to write about the things I find very tough that I figured out, right, and I understood. So that was how I started cybersecurity, and then I started like doing research and writing to very specific. But after a while, it wasn't easy for me to keep up because the work demand was just so much and I just couldn't keep up. So I became very inconsistent, right, around it. But I think I was having a conversation with somebody and they were very amazed at the amount of cybersecurity talents in Nigeria and Africa in general. And that's because they had that notion that yes, Africa and Nigeria in general, we are growing, these things, right? The talents and everything. But we still have like a lot of very, very, very good talents, like very, very good talents, right? But then, and also our security landscape is growing as much as there are like so many complaints around it. But I think there is there are efforts being made, right? And I just felt like, you know what? How about we are able to tell the stories from the people to the happenings, because things that make so much difference, right? The reasons why some people are able to get ahead of others is because of their branding, it could be personal branding, as the case might be, right? You really cannot undersell the power of storytelling. Right? It
That's
changes a
right.
lot of perception.
That's
And
right.
that's why when you watch movies of certain region, you'll be like, oh, so this is what happens there. You're not there, right? But what they tell you is what you take in. So
That's right.
yes, you might be in Nigeria and you understand. Even Nigerians, I think it's just of recent, people actually knew that there were like a lot of cybersecurity professionals in Nigeria. I used to get that. Oh, really? I thought there were like maybe like very few, maybe like 10 or 12. I'm like, huh? Really? I'm in a group of where I know personally over 50. So I have no idea what you're talking about. But really, that's just because nothing is being said, right? We don't have a very good storytelling and all of that bit. So what I am hoping really, which is really work in progress, is to be able to tell these stories. And so yeah, that's just the summary of it.
Yeah, we're very happy that you're working on that, and of course, we hope you. We wish you all the very best in that journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, as a woman in cybersecurity and a role model to many, of course, the ISC square as well. Part of its cornerstone. It's the DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's one of the reasons why they've got the 1 million, cybersecurity certification initiative in place. Uh, what's, in your opinion, do we need more women in this industry, and what are the opportunities and challenges for women actually?
First is, do we need more women? Absolutely yes. It's one, and the reason is simple, right? People have different thought process, right? And I think one of the things I find very interesting about diversity, equity, and inclusion is the fact it's just to get that diverse opinion, right, and insight from different people. If you work in a team where there are like people from different countries, you will know that there is actually power in diversity, because people are bringing insights based on their background, based on their culture, or based on what they've experienced, right? And this is one of the reasons why we need diverse diversity and inclusion, right, in the field. And talking about more women, I mean, every time we see like the statistics around number of women in the field, and I remember for the first 2 years of my career, I was basically like always the only woman in my team, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here, right? Every single time, right? And even if you go to organizations, I speak to friends, it's almost similar, even though I think there's been like a lot of change in the past years, because there's been a lot of intentionality around
Yeah,
bringing more women
that's right.
into the field, right? So first is, I like to tell people it's not a case of, oh, I want women to be in the field because they are women. I'm still a very big fan of, you need to know your stuff, right? If you need to get into cybersecurity, it shouldn't be because, oh yeah, you're a woman, so yeah, come in. It should be a case of, yes, even though you're a woman, you have the right skills and knowledge, right, to do the work. Because it's not the gender that's going to, should I say, protect the business, right? It's the skills that you have. So
Yeah,
I think it's just being able to balance all of that. And talking about challenges, I think first is, even though there's been now a lot of awareness, women didn't really have role models to look up to. They thought that only men were fit for this career, right? Which is one. So at least now there's like so many people, so many amazing women in the industry, and people are inspired. And this is one of the things that really excite me about cyber girls, right? You see women who come into the cohort with zero knowledge, and then in like 8 9 months you can see a lot of difference. I remember I was having as part of the interview process for cyber girls, I was talking to some girls, and they were talking about how they're not sure if this career is for them, because it feels like it's more male dominated and male oriented. I'm like, okay, so how does being a woman, how does it affect how you're going to think, or how you're going to learn and everything? But also to acknowledge the fact that in some communities, right, women are just don't have that leverage or that opportunity to even have certain level of education, right? And um there are like so many conversations and so many occasions where it's a case of, yeah, you know what, just sit back, we are like of marriageable age, you get married, and you just move on with your life, and that's it, right? So like these are some of the challenges, and it's not just a cybersecurity challenge, right? It's a kind of should I say gender challenge thing in general. And why it's better in some certain regions, other regions it's just not that way, right? Even we've had situations in cyber girls where someone gets into the cohorts and the parents come to say, you know what, I want her to drop out because I think she's spending so much time, right, taking these trainings while she'll be thinking of how to get married. And I'm like, oh my God, these are the issues, right? And this happens every time, like every single time. So these are some of the things that we have to deal with and manage. And to be very honest, these challenges are not, like I said, they're not peculiar to cybersecurity. It's really a general challenge when it comes to women, the workforce, education, and all of that. So it takes a lot of some women having to fight back, right? Having to fight back their parents or their guidance to be able to get, a certain to get like that certain stance and able to get what they want, right?
yes, yes,
So it's just a case of how should I say, how far are you willing to go, right, to
yeah,
get what you want, to be very honest?
yeah,
Because even personally, when I was trying to study cybersecurity, it was just a case of all courses, why cybersecurity, right? There's pharmacy, there's engineering, there's medicine, there's law. What is cybersecurity? Like it took a lot of convincing, and I was very, very sure they were not convinced, right? It was just a case of, you know what, you're very stubborn, so just go on. And I wish you all the best, right?
yeah,
I think that was just the
yeah,
case for
yeah,
me. So like these are like some of the challenges, right? That's been faced by women. So
yeah,
and also, I mean, underestimate the fact that women do a lot of house chores, even growing up, and it takes a lot of time away from them. I remember one of the cyber girls, I think that was like in the first cohort, her complaint was that while she's trying to like take classes, her parents are like, you need to do this, you need to do that, I'm going out and you need to do this. And she's trying to say, you know what, how do I fit all of this thing and be able to be a part
Yeah.
of this class, right? Like it's really, really a challenge, and it takes a lot of intentionality to be able to beat it. So and I've also seen girls being able to, overcome it as much as possible, right? Because there's so much you can fight. You just need to find a balance, right? So
Yeah.
please yourself, please your guardian, please your parents, right, at the same time. And it's just a case of resilience, to be very honest, because it's
Exactly.
going to take a toll on you
Yeah.
mentally and physically. It's just a case of how far are you willing to go, right? How much sacrifice are you willing to make
So, yeah.
to
Yeah.
get what you want? So yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of insight into the challenges women face. And I think we should also challenge the male folks to protect the interest, fathers, brothers, to protect the interest of the female counterparts as well. That's very important.
And also, just to
Yeah,
add one thing, right? One thing
yeah,
I find really interesting is um I tell people that if women have even 50% of the audacity that men have, right,
yeah,
you will do so much. Like, so case in, you see job openings and you see a man say, okay, I take 1, 2, 3, you know what, I'll just go for it, right? I don't have to tick all of the boxes. If you talk to 10 women and you talk to 10 men, right, probably 8 out of the 10 women will wait that they meet all of the requirements of a job before they apply,
before
because
they apply.
there's this
Mm.
there's this thing about, no, I'm not good enough, I need to be like perfect, right, to be able to go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
And I won't lie to you, this is where the men has been really, really helpful, right? Because as much as we advocate for women in cybersecurity, we also need the men allies, right, to be able to, support. Case in, I've had conversation with people where they say, oh, I got this job offer and it was XYZ amount of money. And yeah, and that's an interesting thing, right? Like men can call so much money, right? And they can say, you know what, I want a 500K, right?
yeah,
But as a
yeah,
woman, you're like, 500K, can I call that money? Let me say 250, because I think
yeah,
that's a lot, right? And
yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
it stems from that
Mm.
belief that,
Mm.
men already have that notion of, I need to provide for my family.
Self-awareness, actually. Yeah,
Yeah, I need to provide for my family. I need to do this. So it means I need like, it's very like a certain amount of money, right, to be able to live up to expectation. But I feel like most women is a case of I just need certain money to survive, to live the basics. So I think it kind of informs, some of these things. And I say this is where men allies comes in, because I know personally I've had to like talk to, some of my senior colleagues who are male. I'm like, so if you get this job, if you have to take this job, how much will you typically go for?
yeah.
And then they call price and I'm like, I'm like, oh wow. And I'm saying this because it does happen to me myself, right? And it's just a case of, it stems from culture, right, in general, right? So it's
That's
just
right.
that saying that it
That's right.
takes a lot as a woman for you to be able to manage,
Online, yeah,
yeah, and learn. And the only way you're able to even at least find a very good balance is when you have male allies, because you're talking to a man, she's like, oh yeah, you can go for 250K. That's fine. I talk to a man, he's like, for that job, you know what? Don't take anything less than 450K, because I know, and I'm like, okay, right. So these are the things, right? It's not just a case of women supporting women, to be very honest.
yeah,
It's also always a case of, we need men allies who are also able to mentor, support as much as they can, which personally, I've had the privilege of having. So yeah, I just decided to add that because I always find it very interesting when I have those conversations.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, we all need each other actually
yeah.
to get the world to protect the world actually. In your career, you've done a lot of volunteering. You did say that also in your intro. How has this, helped or in a way support your career in the industry? Volunteering, interning and all of that.
Um, I think one thing volunteering has done for me is it has taken me to rooms I never thought I'll probably be in. I think that's one, to be very honest. So, um, one thing about volunteering for me is it's a way to learn from people. It's a way to learn not just from people, but from, should I say, like senior colleagues, as the case might be, and learn, meet people. Even though I don't really like to meet people, like I'm very introverted. I honestly don't like to meet people. I'm very honest, but well, this is where we find ourselves, so we need to find a balance, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it gives the opportunity to meet so many people, share ideas, and also it gets you in rooms. When I mean rooms, I mean, I think in second year of working, I remember we had to go for this meeting, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm meeting this person. And I just kept on making emphasis on, oh my God, I'm going to sit on this table, that kind of thing, right? And one thing I also notice is organizations love people who are able to dedicate time to give back, right? Because it's funny because every time I go for interviews, I kind of feel like it's when I get to the volunteering base, everybody sits up and like, oh my God, really? And I'm like, I can't believe that I've talked so much about my career and now you're all really about the volunteering base, right? And that's because people know that it takes a lot of commitment and dedication, right, to be able to give out your time, right, to people. And the only way society is able to get better, it's by having to give back to people. So volunteering, I kind of feel like volunteering made me know almost, if not 90% of people I know in the industry. Yes. I mean, there are people that up till now I really haven't met face to face, right? But I've had to do one or two things with them. I remember
Yeah.
I had volunteered to be an editor for a blog, for a cybersecurity blog one time. And I think I did that for a base, right? I learned so much from having to use GitHub, right, on blogs.
Yeah.
In the process of editing, I learned so much about some technical areas of cybersecurity, right? Which I probably won't have sat down my own to go read as a blog. But because I had to do the editing, it means I have
Yeah.
to sit down, take my time and
Yeah.
read, right? So these are like some of the things that you get from having to volunteer. And it's a lot of work, I won't lie. It takes a lot from you. But then you're also able to gain some certain things back, as the case might be. And I think it was interesting because for me, it wasn't really a case of, I didn't even know the benefit of volunteering when I was volunteering. It was just a case of, you know what, I just want to do something right and just give back. Just do something right. Just do something. And it's been it's been a really good benefit for me because all of my time in Nigeria while I worked, all of my job I had in Nigeria was through referrals. I didn't have to. I feel like the ones I applied for, I don't even get, I don't even get interviewed, right? But
Yeah.
then, so I just get a message saying, "Oh, hi, we received your CV," and I'm like, how did you even receive my CV, right?
Exactly.
And
So the
so
voluntary.
exactly,
Yeah.
so those are the things, right? Like, I mean, people get to know you, you get to talk to people, people get to know, what your aspirations are, and especially in a country like Nigeria, where I promise you, half of the cybersecurity rules are not even advertised, right? They are solely on referrals. So the only way you come to mind when those things come up is if you are not just part of a community, but you are able to, do something, right? You don't just take, you need to be able to give back. I think that's what I tell people, like, oh, you're saying, oh, I want a mentor that will do this, that will do that. You never have to go ask, oh, can you be my mentor? I never ask anybody to be my mentor, but they know they're my mentor. Why? Because
Yeah.
I found a way to do something for them,
Yeah.
right? And it just makes it very easy to, have that one-on-one, should I say, access to people, and you're able to, like, ask the right questions, make the right decisions, as the case might be. So I tell people every single time people are starting out, you know what, volunteer as much as you can. And volunteering can be it can be even as little as, you know what, I've learned XYZ in security, and someone is trying to get, should I say, an understanding, or people are trying to get an understanding of XYZ. I'm just going to gather these 3, 4 people and explain to them, right, what it is. It could be as little as, oh yeah, I understand cybersecurity, the basic of cybersecurity as a layman, and I feel like in my community there needs to be more awareness I'm just going to do, have one weekend and create awareness, right? So the people in my community, just within my vicinity, right? So those are the little things that you can do. I mean, you never know who's listening, you never know who's watching, and you really never can tell the kind of benefits you're going to get from, having to do little things like this. But at the same time, I tell people, don't go volunteering because you are expecting something back. Right, because if you're really not interested in volunteering, you just dance down to be a volunteer. I've seen people who come and say I want to volunteer, and then I'm literally chasing you to do something for me. Like, I'm sorry, this is not how volunteering work. I have been there. I shouldn't have to chase you. Yes, I get that, it's free, but if you come out and say I want to volunteer, it means you have to be willing to give out your
Commitment.
time to do these
Exactly.
things, right? So people who do these things are people who just want to say, oh yeah, hey, volunteering has a lot of benefits. I'm just going to try to see how it goes. And then I'm like, where is this person? Like, where are you? Right. So yeah, it really does help your career. Even if it's just, the mere interaction with people
Yeah.
and getting to have more insight around happening. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That's powerful, and I've actually learned a few things too myself. So I think I'll be volunteering more from now. We have audiences online, and we have people also in the center. I'm not sure if they've got questions. Please, if you have questions, you can raise your hand, and we'll allow you to speak, or you can actually drop your question in the chat, and we'll take that. So we'll wait just for a few seconds and see if we've got questions from our audience. And we're very grateful for having you today. Yes, we have someone here. I hope, how can I do this now? So he has a question, Sarafa. Okay, I think if you could, I'm unable to give you access. I think we have to make a few changes to our settings. But if you can, yeah, can you hear?
I
So if
think
you
he
can drop
should
it
be
as a message in the
able
chat,
to
yeah.
unmute himself now or herself. I don't know.
Yeah, let me check that. Yes. Hello, can you speak, Mr. Sarafa? Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Ibrahim,
Good morning.
and our guest. I really want to appreciate you for the good work that you've been doing. I really want to commend you because I've been tremendously blessed and impacted, sincerely, even more than expected. Thank you so much for this opportunity and this privilege. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Here is
Thank you
my
so
question
much.
to our guest.
Okay.
Please, if there will be three things that you have to tell to somebody that is just coming into cybersecurity world, what would be those three things that you will have to say to them? Probably to strengthen them, to encourage them, and to make them to be steadfast in this profession. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, it looks like I might just go above three.
Okay.
I just end up going above three. So yes, first is I'll go from two angle, right? I'll go from the technical base and I'll go from, general angle. One is whatever you do not ignore the basics, right? The basics are so important. And I'm making emphasis
Thank
on
you.
the so important because I had discourse on networking in my university days, but because I really didn't like networking, or just a case of I'll just pass it and move on. I really honestly cannot be bothered. And then I got into working and I had to go back and take a course on networking, which is really the basics of networking. I mean, not core networking, just the foundational knowledge of networking, right? So it's not just about networking, foundation knowledge of cybersecurity, which really the certified in cybersecurity actually gives you, you need to know it, right? It shouldn't just be a case of, I'm just going to write this and get certifications. You need to actually know it. That's one. Two is, understand that there is so much information out there. Like, there is so much. It can get really, really overwhelming. You need to be very intentional about where do you want to start from. I said earlier that the domain, cybersecurity domain, is so broad that you can, and I mean, I'm saying this from my experience and the lessons I had learned, right? Even though I studied cybersecurity, but in my first 1-2 years, I found myself having to, oh my God, I just saw a course on threat intelligence. Oh God, this is so interesting. And then I started. And then halfway, I see a course on, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. I started. And before you know, I'm learning bits and pieces of absolutely nothing. I say nothing because if you're starting out your career, right, what you should be looking at is, what are those skills you need to get your first role? And I'll give you an example. If I think I want to be an ethical hacker, right? I hate that I'm using ethical hacking because that's literally what everybody thinks cybersecurity is about. You know what? I change it. If I think I want to become, I want to go into cloud security, for example, right? What I advise people is, go online. Could be LinkedIn, could be Google. Look for entry-level cloud security job openings. Take like 4 to 5 of those job openings. Look at the skills that they are asking for, right, for you to get that role. Get a spreadsheet, Google Doc, notes, whatever, and find that and look at that common skills, right, across those 3-4 job openings. Assess yourself and ask yourself, so I want to get a cloud security role, right, as my first entry point into cybersecurity. Out of these 6 skills that is required, because this is based on job description, it's not they say, this is what people are looking for, what organizations are looking for. Which of this do I know or do I have an understanding of? Knowing may not necessarily equal to having hands-on experience, right? And I'll come back to that. Now, if you assess yourself and say, okay, I think I'm lacking in all of these skills, take each of those skills one after the other and start learning about them. Learning their YouTube channels. You can Google, you can make research, ask people questions, form study groups, whichever you need to do. But your focus should be on those skills you need to get your foot on the door. And this is simply because you can learn for the next 1 year, 2 years, and never get a job. And this is typically what's happening. Why? Because you're learning so much, but it doesn't amount to anything. It doesn't amount to a particular job role. So what job do you really want to apply for? Because different areas require like different skills in cybersecurity. But if you're learning bits and pieces and not even understanding any particular skills, right, it means you just keep going for interviews. You might never get really opportunities to interview, as the case might be. So yes, it can be very tempting to want to be everywhere, but you need to be very intentional about, what do I want to start with? And I say start with because you might get into cloud security and after like a year, like, you know what? I want to try something else. I want to go into application security. But I mean, by that time, once you get your first foot in the door, it's really, really easy to, navigate your way around different domains or as the case might be. So that's second, right, thing you need to be very intentional about. And third is, so this thought is very tricky, right? Because it's tricky because I understand that not everyone wants to put themselves out there, but I'm just going to say it because it does help, right? Third is, if you can, right, share what you're learning. If you can, talk about your learning. And how can you do that? Social media platforms. I don't know, I've not used Facebook in a while, so I don't know Facebook. Whether it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's LinkedIn, you want to write a blog, whatever. Now, this makes you come to mind when anyone on your network is thinking about, oh, I think I'm trying to hire someone, right? oh, I want to get someone to work on this tiny project. Oh yeah, I think I see this guy who posts about, certain things. You're the first person that will come to mind. I promise you. And this is tested. Like it's been tested across different areas, right, so far, and it does work, right? But you just have to be sure that you're not just like posting for posting sake. You actually understand what it is. It's not a case of go to Google, copy and paste. No, you are saying it right based on your understanding because you genuinely want to share, right? And that's because nobody knows you, nobody knows you're learning if you just stay in your house and keep learning. You're just going to keep learning and learning and learning and learning without really having the opportunity, right, to test what you learn, right, which is to get a job, basically. So if you can, I say if you can because I know that people have different personality and not everybody can do this. And that's why I said if you can. But I tell people, even if it's hard, I mean, they said sometimes you have to do things out of your comfort zone. Even if it's hard, try for maybe like 6 months, right? Maybe this is another thing for you to do that's not comfortable because, like they said, nobody really grow in their comfort zone. Me talking to you not because it's comfortable for me, right? I get really exhausted from talking. I get really exhausted from talking, but I know I have to do it, right? And I want to do it, even though it's not comfortable. So sometimes it's a case of I want to, right? I have to, but it's not comfortable. But then you need to ask yourself, right? What are the pros and cons? I mean, what's worse that can happen, to be very honest? And I think the interesting thing about having to put yourself out there is you might think nobody's reading, nobody's liking, I promise you, people are watching and people are reading. I remember I had gone for this interview one time and someone said, oh yeah, I saw your blog post on XYZ, and I'm like, huh? Oh really? Like it was so shocking, right? And like you get really surprised around how and this is the thing, right? As someone who's trying to like start out in cybersecurity, you're in the best position to share knowledge for other people who are starting out. Why? Because if I try to write about cybersecurity right now, I have to be very intentional about not having to put like the technical jargons because I mean I've already learned so much that I'll just be writing and putting all the buzzwords, and going. So for someone like you who's like trying to start out, you have that calmness of okay, this is how I understood it, right? And this is how I want to put it out without even trying to be, very, very technical, using a lot of buzzwords. So those are the 3 things from technical perspective, right? We thought isn't like exactly technical, but yeah, you get the message. In summary is you need to be very, very intentional, right, about your career path, right? Don't ignore the basics. Like if it's going to take you a long time, yes, do it. Like you cannot skip the basics. And the third is if you can put yourself out there, please go ahead and do that. That's one area of it. Second area now is work on soft skills, right? As someone who's trying to get your foot, organizations, yes, they look at, what have you learned and all of that bit, but one thing that's going to make you stand out is your soft skills. It goes from communication, how you're able to like interact with people. Right. Personally, I hate interviews. Oh my God. I don't like interviews. And this is where it gets interesting, right? Because just someone like me who don't like interviews, even if you have the right skills, it means you can hardly be able to convince someone who is interviewing you to give you an opportunity. That is the problem. And sometimes people get the job not because they are better than you, but because they have like better soft skills than you. Soft skills from communication, having to interact with people, providing the right answers rather, even when you don't know the answers, how you put it, how you communicate it right, it makes a lot of difference. So work on your soft skills. Communication is, oh my God, it's so important. Like it's very, very important. And I think one of the things that's really helped me so far is how I'm able to manage people, right? And cybersecurity as a field, it's something where you have to work with a lot of people to get your work done. And people don't like security people. Yes, I didn't say this, but yeah, people don't like security people because they feel like we always give them work to do, right? Like, why are you coming to give me more work? I already have like my own work, but you need to be able to, manage these people and manage them basically to get your work done. So communication skills are so, so, so important. And I'm just going to say, if you can, not if you can, document every single thing you learn, you do, and you achieve. And any obstacles you come across, I'm currently here trying to remember things I've done 4 years ago. Because if I had known, I'd probably be documented, right? But no, I decided to just go on and just be doing and doing. Yes, it's a lot of work, right? But in the future, you need to be able to make reference to them as much as you can. So yes, it's not easy because it means probably need to have like a spreadsheet and updates. This is what the obstacles I had faced, and this is how I had, managed them. But yes, you need to have it, right? If you work on projects, have a spreadsheet, right? If you work on maybe like volunteering, maybe like part-time projects, anything at all, right? That you are doing in the course of getting into a career, your challenges, everything documented. And these are the things that when you go to interviews, you're able to talk about. Trust me, you forget these things. You think, yeah, I've done it. When you go for an interview, you're like, so what are the challenges you face? You're like, I honestly can't remember the challenges I faced. They're there, right? But you can't remember because it's not written. I currently have like a spreadsheet where I have like the projects I'm working on, challenges, and if I'm able to deal with them, fine. If I'm not, I mean, that's a whole conversation entirely. But you honestly need to be able to like document as much as you can. I mean, it does help you in conversations. It does help you in the future, and also you're able to look back and see your growth. Because one thing I figured out is as you grow your career, you forget a lot of things, right? I mean, you really forget a lot of things, and sometimes you don't even appreciate how far you've gone because you don't have those information. Like, okay, yeah, I've been working for 6 years. What have I even done? Right? I mean, what are the things I've done? So you need to be able to like reference back to these things as much as you can. And also all of the skills you're learning, all of the tools you're going to use, you're learning on, document them as much as you can. And this will also come very handy when preparing for interviews. And the last I'm going to talk about is preparing for interviews. Whatever you do, you need to actively prepare on how to introduce yourself. It sounds very easy. I'm just going to introduce myself until they ask you, oh, hi, Simbiat, it's nice to meet you. Please, can you introduce yourself? And you start, wombling and going from A to Z, E to F. You need to write your introduction. So that way you have a flow in your head. You're not cramming your introduction, but you need to have a flow, right? For me, I like to start with how I discovered cybersecurity, my first job, maybe how I got it, my experience so far, and then how I'm able to manage, taking certifications and work, and then volunteering, right? So I don't necessarily cram what I'm going to say, but I have a flow of how I want it to go. So it just makes it really easy. I feel like I've spoken so much. Yeah. So that's it. I think that was 6, right? I knew I was going to more than 3. But yeah, that's it basically.
I don't think there's a better answer to that question. I mean, you've done justice to it. Thank you, indeed. There's actually a note here. I think you've actually addressed the question. This is actually from Musibauddin. He said, I sincerely enjoyed the Career Insight session and commend our madam in the house. I can see she's actually loaded. And his question is, how do I really become a cybersecurity person and what does it entails? I think you've addressed all of that, really.
Yes, I have. And in terms of just get the basics, that's one. Understand IT, networking, get the basics of cybersecurity. ISC has given an opportunity to do that with certified in cybersecurity. Get a path, right, that you want to venture in. And you can take it from there, basically.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm just going to share recent something, I think sometime last year on getting started in cybersecurity. So I might just as well just share.
Please, you share the link. Yes, we'll have to have that. Yes.
And
thank you.
Yeah, I think that should give everyone a heads up.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, so that's coming from Cybersecurity. Yeah, thank you indeed. I'm not sure if we've got more questions, although we've exceeded our time. Thank you so much for coming today. You've said a lot. Let's see if we have 1 or 2 questions. If not, then you just give us the message, and that'll be it. I know you've said a lot, right? So
I was just going to say, I promise I have no more message. but yeah, I think for me, really, I like being very honest with people, right? Who are trying to get into cybersecurity, and it's not me trying to discourage people. It's me saying it's going to be tough. I'm not going to tell you, oh, it's going to be so easy. I mean, you just, come in, learn, get a job, get this very high-paying job, live the life of your head. No, it's going to be tough, right? And that's because there's so much learning to do, and there is continuous learning, right? It's not a case of, oh, you learn this thing, get into the job, and then you sit back and that's it, right? But all I'm going to say is, I promise you, it's worth every single time and effort you put into getting into cybersecurity. It does pay, like it absolutely does pay. I'm not saying this because, in fact, I feel like I've not gotten to where I want to get to, right? Probably take me like years to get there, right? But I'm just saying that it's very lucrative. It's not going anytime soon because every single day we're seeing new technology. So which means with new technology comes new security risks, can use that word, which means you're going to keep needing more people, right? I think it's funny because for a place like Africa, cybersecurity isn't even yet like something that a lot of organizations have keyed into. And as time goes on, more organizations are going to, they don't have a choice, they will have to, right?
Exactly.
Come on board. And this is where they're going to be looking like for like professionals and people, as case might be, to help them support their business. So yeah, you're going to get discouraged, but I think it's just a question of why are you doing this? Like, what is your why? It's very important for you to know what is your why. So yeah, go for it. It's interesting, it's challenging, it's fun, and it's rewarding.
Thank you so much, Simbiat, for joining us today. It's really a pleasure having you. And I think we'll call it a wrap for today. Thank you indeed.
All right, thank you so much for having me. And it's really a pleasure having to say all of these things. I kind of feel like I said so much and like, oh, I can't believe I still know these things because it's been a while, right? But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
All right, yeah, bye.